So we are now 2 games into Insomniac's Spider-Man universe, and I am thoroughly impressed with what we've had so far. We've had quality and quantity thanks to having 2 fantastic Spider-Man games within the space of 2 years, just incredible. But with these 2 games both being pretty different, I'm thinking a lot about what the 3rd Spider-Man game could be. Or, you know, the big sequel anyway, if Spider-Man Miles Morales is to be treated as just a spin-off. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Just a quick word from today's sponsor, WinX DVD. The WinX DVD Black Friday giveaway is now on. Click the link in the description below to enter the WinX DVD Ripper Platinum giveaway. This is a timed offer and it is first come first serve, so act now. WinX DVD Ripper Platinum is a professional tool which assists you to rip a full DVD to MP4 in just 5 minutes GPU accelerated. You can clone your DVD to an ISO image, you can cut and remove the black bars, adjust the codec's resolution and frame rate to suit you, and it supports DVDs of any region. So click the link in the description below because you do not want to miss out. So the first thing I want to see from Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is Peter Parker and Miles Morales both being playable characters. Now I realize that that sounds ambitious, but we're entering a new console generation, and I think having Miles Morales and Peter Parker both be playable would be a good way to kind of push the boundaries of what comes next. I just think with how great Miles Morales' story of becoming Spider-Man in Spider-Man Miles Morales was, it'd be a shame to just sideline him again. Not to mention, I really loved Miles Morales' gameplay and that whole be yourself mantra. It would be great to see that kind of juxtaposed with Peter Parker directly. The game could be structured similar to Ultimate Spider-Man, where the game prompts you to play as one or the other at a certain stage, depending on where the story is at. Obviously, the story would have to call for 2 Spider-Men working individually against this threat, and presumably the main villain list is going to involve the Green Goblin, Venom, and the Lizard. So I mean, that sounds like a big enough threat for there to be 2 Spider-Men facing it. And you could have it when you're just, you know, casually swinging through New York. You can choose which Spider-Man you want to play as. Because to be honest, I think I would miss Miles' Venom abilities. I don't know, it could be that we'll be getting another Miles Morales spin-off after this next big one, but I do think Miles Morales should be treated to some of the bigger action as well, so that he doesn't just become a substitute Spider-Man. The second thing I'd like to see from the next big Spider-Man game would be new locations to explore. Obviously, when it comes to Spider-Man, you can't really change up too much of that New York City overworld. Or can you? There are still parts of New York that we haven't really explored in the Spider-Man PS4 saga. Perhaps the adventure could take us to Queens this time, or maybe using the train and fast travel, maybe it could take us upstate. I'd love to revisit the winter setting, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas. I just think Spider-Man and snow are 2 things that bode really well with each other. But seriously, I know it's an ongoing gag at this point, but imagine Spider-Man having a fight with the Lizard or something in the snow in the forest of upstate New York. That would be fucking epic, man. We could maybe go back to Staten Island. We could have some kind of fight involving the Statue of Liberty. Considering how iconic that landmark is, it's surprisingly underutilized in Spider-Man games. I guess you could say been there, done that with Mysterio taking over the Statue of Liberty in the Spider-Man 2 video game, but more like that would always be welcome. Obviously, you usually get a new set of indoor locations from Spider-Man game to Spider-Man game in the Insomniac Spider-Man saga, so you can bet on the fact that we will get enough new locations to make it worth your money. But even so, I'd be totally game for some brand new outdoor environments to swing around. The third thing is something I don't want to see in this one. So basically, my mandate here is keep the MJ stealth gameplay and the Peter Parker science puzzles gone. One of the things that makes Spider-Man Miles Morales a better overall experience, in my opinion, is that it's paced better because you don't have those big pace-breaking stealth segments where you're playing as a character that doesn't have superpowers and you just have to kind of wait around for different goons to move out of your way so you can infiltrate a base or something. And I didn't mind those Peter Parker brain teaser puzzles in the little Doc Ock lab environment, but I was glad to see the back of them. Puzzles were still a part of Spider-Man Miles Morales, but they involved using your web powers, which in my opinion was a much better, or I guess you could say superior, implementation of the puzzles into a Spider-Man video game. You never feel like you're being pulled out of the moment, you know? So the fourth thing I would like to see pivots a lot on how you would structure the game if we were to go with my first idea of having Peter Parker and Miles Morales both playable. Have a Miles Morales versus Peter Parker boss fight and vice versa. That's not because I want to see these two Spider-Men have a bitch fest and then fight each other. If you're implementing the symbiote into this story, you can probably hazard a bet the black suit will factor in. I mean, I don't know. They're not necessarily going completely based on the comics, because it does seem to be implied that Harry Osborn will be Venom in this game. But if the black suit is involved and both Spider-Men are playable, let's have them fight each other, and let's have it so that we can have one round as Peter Parker versus Miles Morales, and the other round as Miles Morales versus Peter Parker. That could be seriously exciting, because I don't think we've ever had a Spider-Man video game where the boss fight is against Spider-Man. At least not in recent memory anyway, and I think it could be a real game changer. Another thing you could also implement to this Miles and Peter dynamic would be that maybe the final boss or the final stretch of the game would have a tag team dynamic where you can switch between the two Spider-Men in very quick succession. See, it sounds like a game changer. Come on. Number 5 is an overhaul for the web swinging. Now, the web swinging in Spider-Man Miles Morales is the best it's ever felt. I don't dispute that. That is the best web swinging we've ever had so far. But that doesn't mean that we can't still progress it further by implementing a few older ideas. And what I'm referring to here is how Spider-Man 2, the video game, did the web swinging. Now, I know what you're thinking, pup, you're just nostalgia blind. Well, to that I say, shut the fuck up, no one cares. Here's the thing, while Spider-Man PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales feel better with web swinging, I still think the controls that they had for Spider-Man 2's web swinging allowed the most versatility, and I don't think that there's anything that you can do in Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man PS4 that you couldn't do in Spider-Man 2 the game. It just didn't feel as good because the animations weren't as good, the physics weren't as good. But here's the thing, is the web swinging in Spider-Man 2 the game had much more of a difficulty curve to it. There was much more to kind of learn. You didn't start off immediately good at it. You had to kind of go from kind of hand over hand web swinging to doing little web trapezes, and it took a little bit of time before you were a fully fledged Spider-Man web swinger. I feel like if you were to combine that level of control with the Spider-Man PS4/PS5 sort of web swinging physics and animations, I think you'd be onto something there. I don't know how well it would bode with the parkour mechanic. That's, you know, one thing that would definitely be worth considering, but I want to be able to have a little web trapeze again and do hand-over-hand web. That would be awesome. Like, not that I'd use it that much, it's just, it's cool to have it there, because I feel like you can kind of express yourself as Spider-Man more if you have that to your disposal. You feel more like Spider-Man, I guess. Now, I was thinking of adding like a villains lineup to this list, but I opted against it. I think at a later date we can do like the top villains that I hope to see in the next game. That feels like a video in of itself. Oh, and one more thing, you could call the game Spider-Man. I just feel like, you know, having a Miles Morales and Peter Parker adventure is like the next logical step after you've had Spider-Man PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales. So yeah, those are the 5 things I would like to see most in Spider-Man 3, or Spider-Man 2, or Spider-Man... I don't fucking care. What do you guys think? Comment below and discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is a link to my gaming channel, as well as the giveaway and other social media doohickeys, as well as a link to the Patreon and the join button for if you're feeling extra supportive and extra generous. But of course, you don't have to do that. I would never expect that of you. I just appreciate that you're here in the first place. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.